we're ready now, so.
Call this meeting to order. That motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
All in favor? Ladies and the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for coming here tonight to visit us. Start off with adjustments to the agenda. Do you have any adjustments? We do. One will be 10.3, which would be to discuss the sex offender residency restriction. And 10.4 will be appointments to our Shellfish Committee. Any other adjustments? Hearing none. Next on the agenda is presentations. We have a presentation from our community navigator.
Do we want to make a vote on our executive?
Oh, I'm
session?
sorry, back up.
We
Sorry.
have to vote on the
Yep.
adjustments and the
Oh,
Philbrook thing.
Philbrook, that's
Okay.
right. Sorry, I was testing you.
All right. How's my knowledge?
Get a motion on the adjustments.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second, second it.
And I need a motion to act on executive session 2025-3, $3,000.
I move up to $3,000 on 2025-3.
Second.
Any more, no discussion on that, all in favor? You good now?
Good.
Community advocate.
First
Not
off,
black
I'm
and
gonna introduce, Mark Heimbaugh joined us, when the county took over funding. They wanted another navigator to assist, and we were like, let me think. So, Mark joined me a little over a year ago, in December. And, it's been a pleasure to have him, and, so we've spent this whole year getting to know what community navigation is and training and all of that stuff. But we did give you a copy of what we came up with, just on bullet points that I felt you might be interested in. You'll see that this, and we went from the calendar year that you're asking for, right, 2024. The total households that we helped were 163, giving the individuals within those households of 323. And the acts of assistance, Mark can explain later when we get to our numbers, but acts of assistance can be, somebody comes in, like we all know, they come in, they need a bag of food, oftentimes is much more. So a bag of food would be one assistance, and then say 2 or 3 other resources that they didn't even know they need. Those are assistance. So all of those, the 1,098, that's the compiled number of assists, meaning any category that went out for support for those families. And Mark can explain some of the numbers later. One of the things that we've been super busy with, and I do believe that you all have seen it and felt it, is the LIHEAP situation. There's a lot of households that we're not hearing back from LIHEAP. So we had a lot of people, and I think what was the hardest and most urgent for us, of course, are the elderly that were sitting in front of little space heaters, not hearing from anybody. So I reached out to Julie, I reached out to other town managers and just talked about what could be a solution. And we did end up meeting with the CAP agency, and they they actually, so moving forward for next year, the CEO of MMCA did say it's a matter of funding for staff and it wasn't so much the funding amount, it was lack of staff. That funding, she said, was not allowed to pay for more staff to come on board. So, and she said it was a mess. They got a new computer system at the start of the heating season, so they're actually, January? They're just now processing January applications. So we got creative and we reached out and the one thing I want to say here, and we bulleted it down at the bottom, is Derek and Julie and the office staff, everybody here was super great about, executing, getting people served with heat in various ways, just getting creative. And I know that we had come up with a system when community navigation started of not even all the towns that we serve, not even using a whole lot of their GA budgets. Because we really do have resources, people just aren't aware of them. But we did have to get creative and a lot of the towns had to dip into their GA or their emergency funds for this. But CHIP and Community Energy Fund, and we actually found a fund in Wiscasset that we ended up tapping into. So that kept us pretty busy, just trying to find solutions and actually literally going in person and dropping off electric blankets to folks, again, especially the elderly, because they need it warmer. They can't do like the rest of us and put it on 62. They need it warmer. The other notice is we do an intake and we ask, we believe in accountability, so we always want to know the full picture. We want to know if they're working, we want to know their income, their expenses. And what we're noticing, of course, it's no shock, most of the older folks, older population, I don't think we're supposed to use elderly anymore, but our older friends, their social security benefits just don't meet. They're just not meeting just even basic resources. So we've been able to fill a lot of gaps there. Lack of transportation. I asked Mark to pull like what are our barriers, and lack of transportation is definitely high up there. It's not unknown. There are a lot of community partners. The county having us give reports to them quarterly is really shedding a lot of light on what we see and can even sift out a lot of, where does their energy need to go to? A lot of representatives will reach out and say, what are you seeing? So I would say lack of transportation, Social Security is the biggest barriers for anybody getting assistance. The free clothing store, the free clothing closet, and of course our food pantry, but I need to give a shout out for the free clothing closet. They are there every single time we ask. We can send over an email with sizes of clothes, say somebody had a fire or there was a domestic and mom had to leave with all her kids. All I have to do is shoot over the sizes of what's needed, and they're usually either dropped off here or at my doorstep in my office there at the Y. And what I would love to explore a little bit more is, and that I found in the other towns, is other businesses or groups to meet with that want to be part of community navigation, because really that's what it is, right? It's navigating the community, and we see ourselves as conveners, of bringing resources that maybe we don't realize that we have, or shedding light on what's missing and how can some of those groups fill the gaps. So, if anybody wants to send them our way, we're happy to meet with anybody on how they might want to be part of this. Again, I mentioned the town staff are super helpful. We have a system here in Waldeboro that a lot of the towns are starting to adopt to, where they see that, you know, if community navigation can fill in, some of the needs, and then we shoot it back to the towns and saying, you know, like I'll shoot back to Julie or Derek and say, okay, the family did come in, we did this, we sent them over here, we were able to actually pay their, you know, pay for food, we were able to give them food, we were able to use Salvation Army dollars for this and this. We can't do this piece. I haven't found a solution for this piece. That goes back to Derek or Julie, and that's what lands on GA at all the towns. But this, Waldeboro has come up with such a great system that the other towns in Lincoln County are wanting to adopt that system. So
Trendsetters, that's what we do.
kudos to you all. The, some of the, essential services that I wanted to let you know about is, also that our Y does, that was really cool. I started asking my team back at the Y and I said, is there anything significant you want the town to know? And 252 Waldeboro residents use our Y, and over 10% of them are scholarships. So we help connect those scholarships to families. Or we're encouraging them because of their situation. You need to be in here, you need to be busy, you need to move your bodies, and you can be part of these other things if you're here, and we want to give you a scholarship for that. Recovery scholarships, I'm not sure if you know, but we actually provide free memberships for anyone in their first year sobriety, with the exception that they are seeing their therapist, going to groups, and they have a sponsor, meaning it might be a probation officer, it might be somebody from here, it might be their doctor. As long as they have a sponsor that can verify that they're doing what they need to be doing, then we'll give them 100% scholarship for membership in their first year. The farms kitchen, if anybody doesn't know what Farms is, it's a teaching kitchen in our Y. I want you to come visit. It's amazing. We actually wrote some grants to expand that program and bring in classrooms. So Madomic Middle School and the elementary school come over. And the piece that I really wanted you to hear about is Leslie, our instructor at Farms. The health teacher came up and said, you know, we have a truancy issue with some of our students. And since we've been doing this Farms program, because they go to Farms and they cook, and then they go to tennis, and it's all free. It's all written into our grant that we gave. And she said, some of these kids that we're battling with truancy are showing up on the days that we come to Farms and tennis. So I was like, they need to hear about that. And we have 6 children in our childcare. And then Mark's gonna go over the numbers on the graph that has colors in it.
Yeah, so, you know, the active assistance, that is any phone call or referral or payment that we make. We just make a note of it in our software, sort of like billable hours, but not times. The colored rows, those are just the most requested assistances, and it's the basic things: food, housing, utilities. Food, we give away a lot of gift cards and bags of food. We hold a Fill the Y Bus event every month at Main Street Grocery, and then quarterly at Rising Tide, and that stocks our shelf. We also stock a help yourself shelf at the front lobby at the Y. Housing. This is so difficult for us because housing, there's a housing crisis, housing shortage. We send a lot of people to ECHP. That's a group at the Newcastle Food Pantry that helps with, they're connected to Tedford Housing in Brunswick. They help with housing, rent. What else? Heat. And electricity,
CMP.
yep,
That's Ecumenical Coalition of Homeless Prevention, is that correct?
yep. We do a lot of home repair. I know that we work with Philbrook for some of that. We do a lot with CHIP, Habitat. Also, we have come in contact with 9 people who are homeless or living in a camper this past year. Utilities. You can see the 489 acts of assistance. This is by far the biggest need in Waldoboro. That line that says LIHEAP reminder calls. So LIHEAP, the funds come through in November, but the applications start way back in July. So we found last year that a lot of people just didn't know that they could apply for LIHEAP far before you need it right now. So a couple weeks after the application opened, we went through our whole list of clients and found everyone who either needed heat assistance or had used heat assistance in previous year and gave them phone calls to get them started on it. Not all of them took advantage of it, we found out, but I think a lot of them did. Community Energy Fund, that's a group here. You may know what that is. It's a group of, I'm not sure who all. it is
Businesses
actually.
and heating vendors that collaborate together.
Yeah. It's
And
a fund that we
individuals.
use. We have a kind of a flow chart of heat assistances that we use. It goes from federal funds to local funds. So we start with LIHEAP. We send them to CHIP, who does home repair and heat assistance, and then we use Community Energy Fund. So for Community Energy Fund and some of the other ones, we have an actual dollar amount that was easy to pull out that shows that how much money that we helped these people acquire for heat assistance. The precise number there from Public Works. I'm sure that Public Works made more emergency fuel deliveries than that, but those are the ones that we were
That we were
directly
involved
involved in, yeah. ECHP, CHIP. Salvation Army is a really good little fund that we have. It's kind of split out by area or certain towns. So the Waldoboro area Salvation Army Fund is Monhegan, Waldoboro, Bremen, Jefferson, Somerville. And probably 90% of our vouchers go to Waldoboro residents. So the $4,100, we used to have $3,000 a year that we could give away in $50 increments, and it goes pretty fast. We send it out mostly to CMP, but we can we have an agreement with Big Apple and Hannaford to take these vouchers. Salvation Army's fiscal year begins on October 1st, and that's when our funding renews for them, and they increased our budget by 50%, so we have $4,500 now. And we can get it out in $100 increments. So it's still moving pretty fast. It's never enough. It's nice. It's nice that it's kind of limited to a certain amount per voucher, but it's just never enough. Any questions on the numbers?
You mentioned grant support. Particularly regarding, well, he was one of them, but the children as well. How does that look going forward?
That's a big question, Bob. That's everybody's question. As far as our grant for farms, I do not believe it's any federal funds. I think that that's something through a foundation that was like an agricultural tie into it, because we also teach like gardening and stuff. So we were doing other schools and we wanted Waldoboro schools to come in. So Leslie wrote, Leslie and Georgia from tennis wrote a collective grant for that. LIHEAP is its own, Abden can speak to that one more about where those funds come from. We, like Mark said, we have an algorithm of who we start with, and it's always LIHEAP first. But because of that issue that then went to, Brittany helped us with CHIP. Community Energy Fund actually they have a policy, they only do it once a year. And of course, they've had to fill the gap, and there was a couple of really hard situations that we just were able, folks sign a release with us. And if it means that I gotta pull somebody in and talk about this story collectively, I let them know when they sign the release, and we write in. And then we problem solve together with some of these agencies that support community navigation. So a lot of that is private funds.
Yeah.
So once we get through that, then it falls on general assistance, but any grants, do you mean like the county grant
I'm speaking in general here.
in general?
Yep.
I haven't, I mean, the Y certainly has a few that are federally based, but, they have not stopped.
When you go out and fundraise, we often get things in the mail from the Y. None of them have talked about community navigation. And I think that is something that's really critically, I mean, in a way, you're changing your identity, or you're modifying your identity to something very, very different from what it was.
That's fair, Bob, but what it is because the county funds us 100%, we're very transparent when we come out and talk to towns. Because we want them to understand we're not asking money for community navigation, because if we were, it's well known that the county funds us 100%, us.
Yeah, but I'm hearing they don't fund you enough.
No, they do, as far as the resources that we utilize, like LIHEAP and stuff like that, that goes to the different agencies that we tap into. So if that's something the county wants to do, that's up to them, but we don't solicit donations for Community Energy Fund. It just doesn't feel ethically right, because we're paid 100%. Our overhead, the share of having Casey support us, our computer, they got us a computer. I mean, they really have stepped up to the plate so that every town can receive what Waldeboro has. Other than the Booth Bay area, because they're covered by
They're their own entity. They don't want, they don't play well with others.
No,
Sorry.
they do not.
They do. We collaborate some, we'll refer down to them, and they actually push some folks to us. It's service area, so county funds, and I believe the county funds them as well, but we are explicit about where our service area is. And Waldeboro's the largest one.
I was gonna say, we don't have a community navigation fund even, we just have access to Salvation Army and Community Energy Fund. We don't really have our hands in that, but we're close enough with them that.
If the
everything's
donors
right.
choose to come and support anything, we have a debit account that can do direct payments to, we had a gentleman here that Justin helped me with. He was literally unhoused, trying to keep everything together with these papers, and Justin took me down. We talked to him in person, and he just needed a backpack to hold his paperwork because he was applying for all these resources. And so that fund is specific to that. If a mom needs a car seat in a quick way, there's a couple of donors that said, we don't want to go through a purchase order process. We want Karen Ann to be able to go, and that has a few $1,000s in it. There's a couple of donors that donate into that. Anybody can donate into that. But honestly, it's not needed. We get creative, and we utilize all the other agencies that we help convene.
Just
Good question, though. Everybody's asking. It's not a unique question.
just a quick comment. I believe that it all started here, didn't it?
Pretty close.
We modeled,
Modeled after Booth Bay,
Right.
correct?
and I just want to, personally, I want to thank you folks for what you do. Obviously, there's a need there. And there's a lot on everyone's plate, and having that extra resource over there helping out. And now the county's helping, I think that the county saw the value, and it's just growing from there, so.
And thank Julie for that, because they reached out wanting to know how to do one. And Julie said, why are you recreating the wheel? We already have one at the Y, and And then it helps every town, right? I mean, it's funding, it's free for every town. And it supports your GA funds, honestly.
So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anybody else?
You know where we are. Come up with questions.
I just sent you an email before 5 o'clock.
I know, and I made the phone call.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. That's
It
what
was,
we
no,
do.
it's all good.
It's all good. Yep, and I can't stress enough how much the staff support. We're doing just as much in my office over in the Y. And we can do, the impact can be greater because Mark and I are there together brainstorming. And here, I've got to handle Mr. So-and-so. Can you call this person and just get their release and I'll take care of this part. So it's just worked out nice and the staff here have been great about getting the releases right over and communicating anything. Sometimes Tanya will send a little note on, there's an extra piece you need to know or something that can help get to the solution faster. And I can't say enough about Derek, man. I'd be lost without him this year. Seriously.
It's just been it's a great support system. It's a safety net for people and like I said, we get a lot of requests, but I worry about the requests we don't get. Because there's more need out there and people are hesitant and it's hard to break through that and let people know, hey, it's okay to ask.
Yeah.
So.
And what's nice is the county sees that as well.
Mhm.
And so the last meeting that we had with them, they tasked me with finding creative ways to get the word out. And we've done presentations at just about every town office, town meeting. And having Mark with me, he can be hands-on with the clients and I can go out and talk with other groups and do the meeting so that our impact can be greater. And getting that word out. So I encourage anybody, just get the word out. If you need flyers, if you need business cards, I'll send them. And I believe we've got enough support. If we need more manpower, it's there.
What I like about it is, it's your solution focused. I can come and ask for food all day long, but unless you're helping me and teaching me how to get my own food, it's like you can feed a man a fish, eat for a day, or I can teach you to fish and eat for a lifetime, that kind of mentality.
Yeah. I personally, as a kid, was helped by my community and my pastors and all of that. And I was taught accountability, there was a little bit of hard, tough love in there. And
Self-accountability,
I get to own my recovery because I did the work that people suggested. And I believe in passing that on because you're not going to take pride in just getting a handout. You're going to take pride when you go, oh, I need to change my budgeting skills and somebody can sit down and really teach me and then I get it. And then they feel good about themselves and they continue on the solution. I believe in getting to the cancer of the issue. And if it's over and above anything that's out of their control, then we come up to the plate and we fill those gaps in.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Nice to see you too.
So good to see you.
Okay, let's get on with our public hearing. Start off with the first public hearing. We have a motion to open up public hearing concerning the traffic ordinance.
I'll make
So
the
moved.
second.
All in favor, open the public hearing? What you should have in your packet. And then you want to add to it?
I'm just making sure that I have the chat on so that if these make any questions, I can. This again was the initial start of this came back to last summer when we put in no parking on Shady Avenue, and then Bob and Mike pointed out how some of the language in it was very archaic, so we updated it. And then we had a public hearing and there was some confusion about a few things and there was a rewrite, so now we are here with everybody who has had edits. This is the final. Daryl needs a new truck.
These two breaks.
Yeah, this is the final version.
I'll make a motion to approve it. Having gone through several iterations already.
You can't, we could have discussion.
Public comments?
No.
It's many pages.
Several pages.
Yeah.
Okay. It's hard to comment.
Yeah.
Right, unless you knew about it, yeah.
It was published in the newspaper that we were having a hearing, and it is on our website.
Well, my comment would be thanks, Bob, for the proofreading.
Yeah, definitely, certainly cleaned it up from what it
Right.
was before.
But he does well.
He tries.
Any other comments?
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
So moved. I'll
Moving
wait,
second.
I'll wait for the,
Moving
Okay to do
seconded For, to close the public hearing. All in favor?
now you can make the.
Now we can make the motion, but fine, like.
Get excited.
Make the motion to approve the final draft.
So moved. Second, I should say.
More discussion. All in favor of approving? Final draft. 5-0. Guess we need a motion to close that public hearing.
No, we did that first.
Already did it.
Okay, that's right.
We even voted on it.
That's right, we already did that. Now we're gonna open up 5.5, public hearing for dangerous buildings on 3515 Atlantic Highway. A motion to open up that public hearing? So moved.
Second,
All in favor? Comments on this hearing? I think we have, full enforcement? Have some comments?
Yes. So I ended up forwarding a packet to you with a bunch of the information in there, and I just wanted to go over a few things and make sure there were no questions. One, wanted to make sure we were aware of we did go through the book and deed to make sure who the owner was and sort of properly. I did give you a case history, noting the different stuff that had taken place. And also there was a building report, and the most important part of that, in my opinion, is obviously it's written into the summary as far as what it is due to the structure being abandoned for so long, unsecured, structurally compromised, and is unsanitary, uninhabitable, and is a danger to life and property. I deem the structure as a dangerous building under both the IEBC, which is one of the main building codes, and also the state title 17. As far as the notices have gone out to the property owner. We did have a meeting as well. The property owner and his son were present in the office. We talked about the building. I explained that, the building either had to be, have a lot of work done, or at the very least, it needed to be secured. The issue that we have is it's been so long that property is set open, that the elements, I'm sure, have taken its toll on some of the structural members in there. So even if we were to look into some type of rebuilding of the structure, it would still take some type of structural engineer to make sure that everything that's in there would still be, you know, good enough to maintain, you know, structural stability of the building and stuff. The state statute basically requires that dangerous buildings and standards, there's a standard that goes into play. And that was highlighted on the state statute that I handed out, Title 17. And that basically says to adjudge a building to be a nuisance or dangerous, the municipal officers or county commissioners must find that the building is structurally unsafe, unstable, unsanitary, constitutes a fire hazard, is unsuitable or improper for the use or occupancy for which it is put, obsolescence or abandonment, or is otherwise dangerous for life and property. So those are the criteria that the select board would have to take a look and see if they feel that you know, that standard is met with the report. The options that we have is the building must be structurally supported on one end, the open end. And then it could be secured, at least for the time being, boarding up the windows, boarding up the sides so that it would deny entry. Nobody could get hurt inside the structure. Recommend a structural engineer's report as to the viability of the structure and its ability to be repaired or brought up to code, or if it should be demolished. If the building can be repaired, you know, via the structural engineer's report, then, you know, at that point in time, we would need building permits and all the proper, you know, documentation to go along with it, and so on and so forth. The if the building is deemed you know, it's not repairable, then we need a you know, obviously it needs to come down, and it needs to be something that's done sooner than later. And then we would need a timeline for completion of whatever the requirements are. And that should be clearly stated. And there's also the opportunity if we do get into the situation of the board could enter into a consent agreement with the owner, which would stipulate certain benchmarks that need to be met, and also a penalty if that is not met, similar to ones we've done in the past for people. And I would be willing to do that if it is something, but I just want to make sure that this building is closed up and is not a danger. And right now we, you know, we can obviously see that it poses a danger. So, if you do move forward with the dangerous building order, that would just have to be spelled out by the board on what it is that you took for testimony, and also what your findings were and what your order is. So if we deem it to be a dangerous building and it has to go down the road of being demolished, then, you know, whatever the board's decision is would need to be, you know, put on into writing, and then that order would be filed with the registry of deeds, and then we would go from there.
Are you looking for us to supply text for this document?
Yes, you would have to
The
basically
findings
supply,
in order?
you would have to supply the information that's in there, and I explained to Pam about that. That's something that would need to be filled out with the board's wishes on what their orders are, so.
So do we form a subcommittee as part of the select board?
No.
No?
No.
So do we visit the site en masse and take a look?
Now,
What are the
typically,
next
Look
steps?
at those pictures.
Do we have enough now?
Comments, Bob?
Yeah, I was by there today again, many times, but I've never stopped and walked in. I mean, we know it all went on fire at some point. There was a vehicle parked out in front doing some electrical. I'd really be interested in a consent arrangement whereby easy as pie. The guy sits down with you and agrees what has to be done, and they do it. We give them a date certain, expect it to be done by this date.
Correct. And the only reason we're here now is because we
They have-
haven't had any movement.
They haven't done that.
So, I mean, the simplest thing of securing the building so that, you know,
Hasn't
somebody
even done
can't get
that.
in there and get hurt,
Yeah,
hasn't been done.
Nope.
So, so
Are the taxes paid?
I don't know.
Yes, they are. I'm the owner.
Oh,
I'd like
thank
to comment. Yes, when you get
Oh.
some.
Sir, would you like to speak?
Yes, I'd love to. Just know when I've had 4 strokes, I should really be walking. My son is, yes. I got it. Yep. That's, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. My name is Robert Emery. Some of you may or may not know me. I've built 239 houses in my lifetime. I've had 4 strokes, broke my neck, I wasn't supposed to walk again. And I've got all kinds of injuries. Anyway, I'm a licensed electrician, plumber, heating installer, real estate dealer. And that's enough for me. But in the 240 homes, 239 homes that I've built, I can tell you the structure is not dangerous. It's not dangerous because therefore, it's been what, 6 or 7 years since the former owner had it burnt. When it was burnt down. And I haven't got enough money right now to rebuild it, but I have got the tulip floors and stuff, and plywood and stuff arranged, and close windows off, get it out and work them over. And I can assure you that it is structurally sound. You can go in anytime you want until until I can find the time, and I gotta have help in my condition, but when I can, you can go in anytime that you feel you like to visit. And it's structurally sound just the way it was, because the other part, the restaurant burnt flat completely. And that now, the only thing that's left is the eating section. And that's the only thing we want to, eventually, if I have enough money with my son and some help, we'd like to rebuild, but that's up to you people. But like I said, from my experience and my knowledge of 230 homes plus, I built all kinds of things. I can assure you, it's structurally sound. You're welcome to visit anytime you'd like. Thank you.
But what type of timeline would it take for you?
Well,
I know you need some help and to do this. You
I'm-
can't.
Yeah,
Tomorrow you wouldn't be out there pounding nails.
I apologize for the shape I'm in. My son is sick in bed, but that's why I am supposed to be a walker and a cane, everything like that. I refuse that. I refuse the help. But that's my own personal thing. But the timeline to close that up, I just landed the super floors probably 3 weeks ago. I've got the plywood coming on a truck by the end of next week. And we're gonna tear out the old broken windows. They broke them the day that it burnt, because they had to go in and they wasn't, they burnt. So anyway, we're gonna go and tear them out, board them up, and close in the other end, so nobody can get in anymore. And that'll happen within 2 or 3 weeks.
So this is your property that you own?
Yes,
Your son
it-
has represented that he owns it.
My son is quite vocal. When I die, which I assume it's gonna happen quite quickly, it's in my will that it will go to my son. But right now, I own the property. I paid all the bills. I am living there temporarily until my cottage down at Sandy Shores opens up again. And I live there. And That's the
You mean you
story.
live in the building next door?
Next door.
Yeah, next
Yeah,
door.
Not in that building.
Not that
Yeah, no, not that one.
So you live where the Asian massage parlor used to
Yeah,
be?
that's another story altogether. Oh, my gosh. Boy, if I had known what was going on there, boy.
Well, I mean, I'm.
No,
putting it
no,
in
you're
context
exactly
here.
right. You're
Yeah.
exactly right. We're remodeling it, with my
So
son's help.
Right, and that's where so you, typically that has been rented out, that building next door.
Exactly. And now I am living there full time.
Just trying to get the full picture.
So
Yeah.
realistically, by mid-April, you could have this building.
Oh, yes.
Closed up.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. My son is sick in bed. He's gonna have an operation on the 10th of April. So we're gonna try to get it closed in. Unless you people would like to give me a date, anytime you can, but anyway, I'd like to have that closed in by the April 10th.
Abden? I guess a little bit of a question for Mark. If he closes it in, and I know when you tear a building down, you have a year to rebuild. However, the rest of the kitchen burnt, so would he have to come back for site plan review and all that?
Yeah,
stuff with
yes,
plans?
we come back for.
Okay.
Yes.
So
yes,
but
we
even though
will.
we keep, so does it
Yep, we want to come back and get the
just,
permits and all the documentation you shall need.
yeah, no,
Yep.
the only thing is kind of protecting you a little bit, because that building, if you close it up and make sure it's closed so nobody can get in and out, that's still protected under that law that you have a year, if you do demolish it, to rebuild it.
That's right, exactly.
So.
Yep, I
but
understand.
think-
Point. What we've done previously as well is if there is an existing slab foundation there and it's still viable, that holds that footprint.
Okay,
So regardless of that
okay.
building.
See, I
there or
thought it was
not-
the structure itself.
Right, because the foundation, if you think of it, is considered a structure.
Okay.
It is, under the definition, it is a structure, so that holds that footprint, so
Okay.
that there's
Okay.
no issue
Good enough.
regardless if the building was brought down, they could rebuild there without any issues.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you, Mark.
It may be premature, but that was a restaurant. Is that going to be a restaurant again?
We've had 2 or 3 people approach me and ask if the signs, everything are still there. And I've told them, yes, it could be. We don't know for sure right now at this time. Yep, like that be a restaurant. Take out.
Is the end, the second meeting in April, have it done by then? And then come back, have the code enforcement officer come back and give us a report? If it's not by then we do other actions? Which would be,
We can act on that after we have the meeting,
what's that?
act on that.
Yeah, this is discussion. This is just discussion.
That would be
April 22nd.
April
April
22nd.
22nd.
So by
Does that give
then-
you enough time?
Yes, it does.
Okay, this is just discussion and.
Yep.
Trying to get Mark, our code enforcement officer, on the same page as you are.
Yep.
So,
That's good.
there's no misunderstanding.
No misunderstanding.
So the only thing that I would require too is, I'm not a structural engineer and, you know, I'm no disrespect, but.
No,
you're not
no,
either.
I understand.
I would want a structural engineer's report stating that the structure is sound enough to be rehabbed and converted into something.
Yep.
Could that be held off until he comes to the planning board?
That's what I mean.
You're talking the
If he,
select board again.
no, for the planning board, if he decides to do a restaurant, is add that into that piece. That's still,
Problem is, we've got a building that we don't know if it's safe or if it's not, if it's viable. And yes, boarding it up should have taken place after the fire.
oh, correct, 100%.
That's where, you know,
That
and I did have to look back, Dale Smith helped me out, he looked up at when the actual fire was, and it was April something 2020. So why that was never
Ah,
boarded up,
I think
I
it's
don't know.
longer than-
There's been two owners before me.
Previous owner, yeah.
That's right. There's 2 owners. It wasn't done yet. It wasn't done then. So I questioned why it's done that, why it's gone on so long. I questioned why it
Because
happened.
we get complaints on a weekly basis.
Oh, you do? Yep,
Yes,
yep,
we do.
I didn't know that, yeah,
We get complaints on a weekly basis.
okay, yep,
People driving up and down, we
Yep.
get asked about it.
Yep.
There's probably not a week that goes by that somebody.
I didn't know that,
inquire-
yep. Of course, you would know that, I don't, yep,
Cause we are the recipient.
yeah, yeah, that's exactly right, I understand that.
More than one, so it's just.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not just your place, it's.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm not
Places.
insinuating it isn't that, but yeah, okay, thank
You
you
just
very
have to
much.
be on the list.
Yep.
I understand. I appreciate what you've done and what you're saying tonight, and I also appreciate you not,
Yeah, in, my office is always open. I
okay.
mean, even a phone call, you don't have to get out, you don't have to,
You might also notice Bobby Jean Young,
oh,
that's my daughter,
I know,
okay.
yep, I've had several dealings with. her.
Well,
She's very nice.
we're going to have the, unfortunately, we can't afford the right now, so we're gonna have the tenant move out. He's got his 30-day notice, so that's okay. All right, thank you very much. Thank you, I really appreciate it.
We have a lot of strokes in my family.
I'm lucky to be alive.
Thanks for coming in, Mr. Emery.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the public regarding this hearing?
No, I'll make it, I promise.
We're not quite done if you want to.
No, I know, I'm not.
Okay.
Want to sit down?
Hearing no other comments,
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
all in favor of closing? And we'll act on this.
I'll make a motion. We revisit this April 22nd with an update from our code enforcement officer, and I guess we need to request a engineering. Was it an engineering assessment of the, to make sure it's structurally sound?
Are you here, Mark?
Yes,
May I suggest one? John Hanson, I worked with him exclusively. Phil Thompson.
Well, it's you have to get,
right,
It's your
it's not up to
choice.
the town.
it's not up to the town, it's up to you.
Okay, I'll contact John.
Motion made and seconded.
Was it seconded?
I'll
I thought
second.
Becky, oh, she should say closing.
Yeah.
Seconded?
Yep.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a
Thank you.
good evening.
You can hang out, listen to the rest of our meeting if you want to.
I guess I'll go home. Yeah, thank you. Yep, appreciate it.
Okay, do we have any citizens' comments regarding anything else?
Ruben said, we love our community navigators.
What did he say?
Ruben said, we love our community navigators.
We do too. Any other comments? Select board comments, starting with Abden.
I got nothing.
I got nothing.
Michael,
Same.
Bob?
I gotta look at my notes here.
Bob's always got something. Bob's always got something.
My apologies. Yeah, I do have one or two. Sorry about that. Just a kind of reminder to myself, at some point, we need to revisit our comp plan. And I know folks are aware of it. I think the last time we did this extensively was, gosh, more than 10 years ago. And I think it's wise to do it at least every 10 years, because sometimes when you ask for money from the state, they can say no if you don't have comp. So I just like that maybe looked into and.
Can we look at that and just say we're sticking to the plan? And
Do whatever we want.
Updated, I guess, put a new date of updated on it.
Yep.
If we want to stick to the plan that we have in there.
Yep.
Cause that was very
Pretty
extensive.
good plan.
It was huge.
Yep.
It went for months. Actually, a couple of years, actually, did it?
And then I was accosted by a resident who had a really interesting idea. And I'm just putting it on the table because I promised I would. We've been having issues with Jefferson Street. And that street is under the administration of the state. The Department of Highways, yeah. So the question I was asked was, what if Route 220, instead of turning right and going up the hill at the end of Friendship Street on Main Street, was redefined to go straight down Jefferson Street to Route 1?
That's the truck route.
And maybe we should just make it 220 and leave it at that.
I don't think that's ours to.
I
name.
know, I know that. It would be a request from us. But would that change the status of Jefferson and require the state to pay perhaps a bit more attention to it? Is that just semantics?
I'm
Yeah,
just
Semantics, it's
thinking-
already under their jurisdiction.
Okay.
thinking out loud, if they would make that a state route, we're talking wider.
Well, it's pretty wide already, but yeah, you're right.
It'd be wider, and there's some houses close to the.
But Main Street is already a state route.
Yeah, it's built as a state route.
Built.
Be careful what you wish
Yeah.
for,
Built as a state route.
but I mean, if it's a select board, is that your request, have at it.
Just putting it on the table.
Not me.
I have no opinion. Thank you.
Bad enough when they winded in 2008.
Only comment I have is just a couple comments. First of all, I want to thank the folks and the budget committee for the last 2 or 3 weeks, everyone meeting in here and having a good time and talking about our budget for 2026. Got a couple more meetings left. Well, at least one more.
At least one, I have no faith that you'll get done on
We were supposed to have
Thursday.
one last night, but Mother Nature decided she wanted to play some more for the winter, so we called that one off. So we'll be back here on Thursday at 6 o'clock and discuss some more of our budget. And on May 13th, a reminder to folks, and the word's gonna be out there, and we're gonna make sure we get that in the paper too, is there's going to be a informational session at the Madonna Valley High School at 6 o'clock regarding I call it page it's over. There's another word for it. What do you call it? Something.
Is it PAYP?
Waste
Zero.
Waste
Waste
zero.
Zero is the company that would be
Company.
making the presentation.
Essentially, it's pay as you throw information for us to think about the future with Friendship and Cushing.
And we have a transfer station management committee scheduled now for April 3rd.
That's all I have. On you?
I was just gonna talk about budget. It's been a busy budget season, and I think that we're almost through it. We'll see what happens on Thursday. I just think it's a lot of time and dedication by both the select board and the budget committee members, and I think it's been a lot of really good debate and discussion, and a lot of good information has been disseminated, and we've had a couple of residents attend, which has been nice to see. But not a lot on the, I don't know that they've been really watched, but I wish more people were involved, and I wish we could fill this, like the whole back row that doesn't have department heads in it, but with public, that would be great. The other big news is Mid-Coast Humane is hosting a wellness clinic this Friday, right here at the town office, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for all of our little furry friends. So the information is on our Facebook page. It's posted on Mid-Coast Humane, but a wellness clinic will be held. You can get rabies vaccines, distemper vaccines, Bordetella vaccines, microchips, Lyme vaccine, heartworm test, feline triple test, and a dewormer. So take a look. It's, the prices are, really great for people who might not go to the vet all the time or can't afford to go. And there is a limit to 4 pets per household. So it's a great time. Come on up Friday from 10 to 1. And bring your pets. Should be a good time, had by all.
That's this coming Friday?
Yep. So we're excited about that, as is Mid-Coast Humane. So I have.
There you go. Thank you. The consent calendar. Get a motion to approve the consent calendar,
So moved. Second.
seconded, any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? 5-0. New business 10.1. Tax acquired property.
This is the policy that we had talked about, we're getting into that time of year when there's going to be some action on, people who have fallen behind in their taxes. There was a significant rule change back in 2024. MMA recommends that we have a policy. Somebody in our office, who will be assuming the role of tax collector, had come up with a policy. I know there were some comments on that. So the policy you see here, is something that Bob put together. Based on, I believe, MMA's guidance and some of what was put into the policy that had been presented to you. And this would be for statutory foreclosures based on the tax lien. Based on taxes. It just kind of outlines the procedures that we have to follow, so we have to follow state law, so just recently letters were sent out that to the people who are currently on the list, and there is a lot that has to happen for all of this moves forward, but they are new rules, and there's new rules of if we do get tax acquired property, how it's disposed of, and we just want to make sure we're following all the rules. And the policy was suggested, as I said, by MMA that we have.
Questions or comments on this? From the board?
Did you get my email about the 2 corrections that were required? Sorry, there was a,
Yeah, I did.
on the last page at the top, it refers to section 5. It should refer to section 4. That's where you calculate excess proceeds. You got that, right?
Yeah.
And then there was a word missing in section 4. We're suggesting that we to present a challenge on that line.
The second one is the last selection, calculation of excess proceeds should be section 5, not section 4.
Right. Exactly, yeah.
I see on here a lot of legalese. I'm assuming it's based on state law. Right, Bob? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, as Julie said, the whole point of this thing is to make darn sure that if we sell it, the excess proceeds that are distributed at the end of the sale are unassailable. Someone can't back and bite us on the hand and say, you didn't do this right. They were, the property is worth more than you sold it for. You didn't have the appraisal done.
Right.
God knows what else they'll come back.
Well, and it is very complicated, and
It
there
is.
haven't been a lot of towns. They're just now starting out. I think Warren, our neighbor, is just starting out their process. So there hasn't been a lot of towns that have moved forward since the 2024 ruling. So everything's kind of been in a stasis. And this doesn't mean that we have to foreclose. It just means that we have to have a policy in case we do.
Yeah, this isn't an ordinance, it's just a
Right.
policy.
It's just a policy.
Policy.
We have to follow state law. We can't have a separate ordinance from the state law. The state law dictates what we have to do, and after taxes are due for more than 2 years, there's just, there's a clock that starts that we don't exactly, we're not able to stop, so we have to follow the law.
Pleasure of the board.
I can,
You-
if
you-
you wanna
you want-
review it more, you can, or we can adopt it tonight. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you.
Evan, you have something?
No, I just,
Was this what you were talking about? This should be a 5 and not a 4.
No, that should be, sorry, yes, that should be a 5, not a 4.
I should know if we was ready to make a motion or if we had to make a motion or. That's the only thing I had.
It seems odd that we had to go through a public hearing for parking, but taking somebody's property doesn't trigger that. Just seems odd.
So this is, we're not taking anybody's property.
Well, we own it.
We
And
don't-
you have to,
well-
and we're
well-
selling it.
No, we're not. We're not doing that at all right now. In the event that we were to take somebody's property,
That's what I'm talking about.
right,
Yeah.
but we haven't taken anybody's property. This is
Correct.
just the policy. That mirrors state
But we're
law that we
adopting
have
this
to do.
policy
Correct.
by which we take, and well, I guess because it's other ways taken, but by which we dispose and reimburse the
Right, and
prior
there's,
prior owner, understood.
right,
But it just seems odd that, we went to great lengths to determine parking rules in the town, and there's a lot of money involved here, and not just parking.
The
ticket.
parking rules are dictated by the town and this procedure is dictated by
Yes, by
state
state.
law, so there's not a whole lot of discussion.
We can't.
Around
really
it.
Change.
You
what
can't
the
Can't
state-
change what
change
state
can't
law
change what the
says.
State is telling us.
What we're allowed to do.
Right.
And we're in a strong position with a policy. I mean, we can have an ordinance at some point in the future if we need one, but right now, we're in a stronger position having the policy than we would be otherwise.
and. There used to be. There's a lot of notices that go out. We just sent the first notice, which is one of many, and then there's a total procedure, so it's not like. It's not like somebody's going to be shocked by the time that it gets to that point. Nobody's going to be shocked about what's happening. And just to share with you, we had a list of 45 properties. And the letter that I unfortunately have to sign, because I hold the title of
And
treasurer,
pen?
it wasn't a nice sounding letter. It's not like the letter we used to send, which didn't seem as harsh, but there was legal language that had to be in there. And when I read that letter, I was like, I need to make phone calls so that people know this letter is coming. So, I called everybody I could reach that we had contact information for of those 45 properties to emotionally prepare them that, hey, you're getting this letter. This is what this means. There's more to the process because it says right on there, your house can be sold. It's a scary letter to get. So it's not. There's enough notice and people will not be unaware by the time that we ever got to a tax actually acquiring it. There's quite a bit that has to happen first.
Okay.
And I think from our standpoint, from the town standpoint, we want to keep people, it's been our goal to keep people in their homes.
And this does allow for that.
If they,
No, I mean,
if they buy it again.
if we decide we don't want to acquire it for tax reasons, we don't have to. We just leave it.
They still owe the taxes and they still
Yeah. But they don't
acquire
have-
tax,
don't have to
there's
get
still
out.
taxes on it, but we don't have to take ownership. It actually is a lot nicer. There's one aspect of it is that gives us some choices. And explains more of the liability and that aspect of it than it did from what I saw in the past. Of what could potentially happen. And the major difference was that back in the day, you would foreclose, you'd have a public sell that property, and then the town would get those proceeds unless there was a lien holder ahead of the town. Now, you have to list it with a real estate agent, you have to sell it, and then those proceeds, the town takes what is owed them. I'm not sure how all the other liens, that's more detailed in the state law. And then whatever proceeds are left would go to the homeowner, former owner.
I read it and I didn't find any objection to it.
I'll make the motion to adopt this policy.
Second. I was just waiting for somebody. Just make sure Mike was okay with it, that's all.
Move to second, any other discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Just we'll clean up on the. Typos. Yep, just do there. Yep. 10.2. We got a parking space request.
So, Mike Sprague from the State Farm office downtown has a single car parking space located in front of the office at 902 Main Street, and what he is running into is that. That single space is occupied a lot, and he has numerous customers that are elderly and or unable to walk from a nearby parking space from further up the hill along Friendship Street and Glidden Street. So sometimes he's had to park there to kind of reserve it so that one of his people who can't manage that area well, who have difficulties walking, will have a place to park. So his request was if that could be designated as a handicap parking space. So I asked John Daigle about that. And John's concerns was that it doesn't meet the criteria for a handicap parking space because of the
Curbing.
well, not only the curb,
The angle,
but
the
the
steep.
the steepness of the hill.
There's parking spaces above, right above on the next street up there, right next to them. They're on flat. But people would have to walk downhill and then walk uphill to get to and from
Yeah.
their cars.
Exactly. Yeah, it's, and that's, John's like, there's no way we could legally make it a handicap parking space because it gets complicated with, it doesn't meet the criteria.
Wouldn't we have to go through the state anyways, where it's a state road?
Not on the
Not on
handicap.
parking-
parking
not on
space.
parking
We
Oh, can we?
designate. But it's just, it's complicated. I mean, I see the need for something like that. It's just, we can't designate it as a handicap spot. The other issue you could do is maybe put a time limit on it, but it's not gonna be enforced. Complicated.
His current solution may be the one that he needs to continue to implement.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, there's no way to.
Hold the spot, I mean,
Yeah, I can certainly,
already have an
I
appointment.
looked at it 3 or 4 times today when I was
Yeah.
down staring at it, how can we, but then I thought about the angle and I said the curbing. How to get it,
But the curb the angle is really.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of a liability issue if we said it was a handicap spot.
Somebody went rolling down the hill.
Down the hill.
That was John's concern, is like somebody gets out in a wheelchair.
Or,
Oh.
yeah,
Oh,
or a walker with
Yeah.
wheels.
that would be bad.
It just doesn't meet the criteria.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like he's handling it,
Yeah, I just think,
you know, it's an
Yeah.
inconvenience for him, but. He's handling it.
and I'll ask John if there's any other recommendations he can make.
So no action on that?
Just to ask for the
What does it mean for a business to have a designated parking space?
Say it again, Mike.
Did he say that he has a designated parking space in front of his?
No, there's one designated spot in front of him in the barber shop. Right
Yes.
there.
I have a single car parking space located in front of my office.
It's not
It didn't
his.
say it's
Oh, by
designated.
designated, you mean?
No,
It's lined.
it's lined.
Yeah.
It's lined.
It's,
There's an actual parking space.
There's an actual
designated
parking space.
for-
right.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's not just,
okay.
it's a public parking
Okay,
space.
well.
Good clarification. 10.3.
All right,
Point
so
three would be discussion, we'll talk about the sex offender residency restrictions. Now, Becky, you can list.
So I received several sort of frantic calls and messages regarding this issue. I am not a person who tends to be reactive and think that we should react to each situation. Sort of proactive versus reactive, but the background on it is that the residents who live at Madomet Mobile Home Park had a guest staying with one of the residents who was recently released from federal prison on sex offender charges. And they were very concerned not only for the residents in the park and the children in the park, but the children who are directly next door at Miller. And so several people said, well, we called the police, but we don't have an ordinance about this. And so talking to Julie and,
So I think people thought that it was a state law
right,
that, people in the sex offender registry could not be under certain circumstances within 750 feet of a school. And it is not a state law. It is a law that the state says towns can individually adopt. So we, in the past, had not adopted, and a lot of towns it does not appear that a lot of towns have adopted it, because I believe people under the impression that it's a state law.
so I asked Julie to sort of put this forth and she expeditiously did that. And I think it's something that we should put on the warrant, so. Should,
And
get it out.
the restricted area would be 2,500 feet of the property line of any public or private elementary, middle, or secondary school. And 2,500 feet of any publicly owned property where children are the primary users.
Yep. Can you make that motion? Put it on the warrant?
sure.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to know if there's any more discussion, but I guess you can do that after. So I would make a motion that we put this on the warrant for the upcoming vote.
I'll second it.
And second.
Third.
Fourth and
Any more discussion?
No, I think,
Public discussion that have to happen with that?
Yes. There'll be a public discussion
Public hearing.
on the night
Yes.
of when we have the warrant. We'll do the public hearing, and then it'll go on the warrant. Well, it'll go on the warrant even before that, because we have to have everything in by the 7th of April.
All in favor of putting this on the warrant? 5-0. Point 4. We have some 2 appointments for the Shellfish Committee.
I'd make a motion that we appoint Wayne Harvey and Abden Simmons to the Shellfish Committee.
second.
Any more discussion? We both got experience in digging. All in favor?
I'm not abstaining.
4, 0, 1. Okay, old business. Nothing on there, so I guess we don't have any old business.
Cleaning business up.
Agenda for the next meeting.
Is there anybody in particular? So we've been doing a lot of these presentations from your departments, and we've gone through a lot of department presentations because of
Budget.
the budget. But we had community navigation. Is there anybody in particular you would like me to invite?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I do have one thing. I was approached and asked, could we have some discussion on our current medical marijuana licensing ordinance? The next meeting,
Just a refresher.
just a refresher, talk about it.
Would you like to have Max here for that?
Make a funny remark. He's a pot guru, so.
Anything else for the agenda for next meeting? Hearing none?
Make
I'm
a
sure
motion to
stuff will
adjourn.
come up.
I made a
To
motion to
adjourn?
adjourn. Yep.
Second. All in favor?
Well, wait, I have something. We will be setting the warrant. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
At the next
Yeah,
meeting?
at the next
Yeah,
meeting.
well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're not gonna have time
April
after
8th.
that.
Yeah.
So we will be setting the
Yeah.
warrant.
Wow. That came fast.
We've taken it, we're a meeting over from what we've typically done on budget, so it's okay, we're good, it'll be fine.
A lot of good questions coming.
A lot of good questions.
You got no choice.